Welcome to the Pixelated Porch Podcast. My name is Ricky, and I'm joined with fellow friendly nerds, Chris and Mike. Today on the porch, we're going to be discussing our earliest memories, really the first thing that we can remember from our early childhood. But before we get into all that business, Mike, what you up to, man?
What's up? All right, so had a busy week this week. Ended up working this past weekend. Got to go all the way down to Tampa, Florida. So it was a nice 86 degrees the whole entire time I was down there. I was down there for like 3 days. And it was so nice, especially like getting all this rain up here and the cold weather up here. Went down there, I'm just like, everybody's like sweating. They're like, it's so hot. I'm wearing cotton wool socks or whatever. And I'm like,
this past week it got so hot. It's like, what the, like we just had snow and now it's like 80 degrees. What the hell?
And like here we've got all the windows open now. We turned off the heating and the AC and we're just letting all that nice fresh warm air roll through the house. But yeah, I was rocking long pants and a jacket and wool socks, and I'm just like sitting there like baking in it all. I'm just like, man, this is like amazing. So I was absolutely loving it. So so that was what I was doing down there in Tampa. I was just working on some machines and shit, and working throughout the weekend, and let's see, and then I did I don't know if I did it last week or I think I finished up last week. My parents, they had a pull out trash can in their kitchen cabinet, and they wanted it turned back into a shelf and drawer, or shelf and door. So instead of like a pull door, it was like a swing door. So I built a shelf, put it in there, and so yeah, that was really good. But yeah, I mean, other than that, that's all I've done, and I'm getting ready to go up to Tennessee. There was something that was interesting that was happening that I was going to be like, oh yeah, I did this. And then of course, when you're trying to remember shit like that, like on the fly, it just goes out. Oh yeah, this happened. So I have a computer bag, had a computer bag. And it was okay. It was a few years old, right? And so every time I go on site, I've got my work laptop, my iPad, I've got my passport in there, I've got like all my connection cables to talk to the machine in there and all that fun stuff. So I walk onto the site, right? And they're doing a complete remodel of like this freezer room. And you normally need your laptop. I like to take notes on my iPad as I go so I can like do the visit report after really easy. It's just a whole bunch of copy and pasting and shit like that. So usually the floors are super wet, so I put my bag on top of the machine so that it doesn't get on the floor and get wet, or get like, because you're at sites that are like sealing like blueberries or tomatoes or chicken or whatever, so the floors are just usually covered in shit until they clean the floors, right? For sanitation. Nice. So I don't like to have all that shit on my bag anyway. So I put it up off the floor. All right, we go to lunch. All right, and I come back from lunch, and my bag is soaked, like drenched. And I'm like, oh my God, start pulling out. Luckily, it was like thick, and my bag was thick enough. My computer bag had like a nice thick foam padding in it that it just absorbed all that water. Oof. So it was just like a very light film of moisture that was on the iPad and my laptop. But my bag was drenched. Like you could like the strap, you could actually like twist and squeeze a strap just like a wet towel, and it was just like wringing it out, and it was just like water all over the place. I was so fucking pissed.
What kind of wet was it? Like you said, like blueberries, tomatoes. Like, I mean, okay, those are wet. That's fine. But like, was it like chicken wet?
No, this plant. So the good thing was
chicken wet is the worst.
Yeah, the good thing is they shut down their production while we were down there, and the room was cleaned, but they were remodeling it all, and they cut open a pipe, and I guess it was just all residual water left in a pipe that just came like splashing down and dripping. So they had like a big like 96-gallon trash can that it was draining into, but they didn't move my computer bag. Of course, like I did not know that they were breaking open pipes at this point when I put my computer bag where it was. But no, they just cut open the pipe and just pissed all over my fucking computer bag. I've got like probably like $4,000 worth of electronics in this bag alone, and they're just like, fuck it, doesn't look important, who gives a shit. And but yeah, so I ordered a new computer and backpack and shit like that to replace this one because it was just soaked. I went back to the hotel room after everything was out of it, and I put it on top of the AC unit and left the AC unit on, so it was all like blowing air all over it, so it'd like dry it out. Because the hotel didn't have any fucking dryers or washing machines, so I was like, cool, great. And I came back a day later after leaving it on the machine, on the air conditioner for like a whole day. It was still fucking soaked. I actually had to like open it up. I opened the zipper, opened the bag up, and stuck the opening of the computer bag over the vent, rigged it so it would stay there. And it still took another like 8 hours for all that air being like forced into the bag for it to dry it out. And then it just had like an interesting smell to it. I'm like, fuck this. I'm buying a new bag. Like, I like
an interesting
yeah,
smell.
it wasn't like a mold. It was just, it just smelled like old water, And I was just like,
like stagnant, water.
And I was like, this bag's already like 6, almost 7 years old. I've had this bag since, I don't know, way back before England. I think I've had it almost the whole entire time I was in the military. So, I mean, it's probably a good like 8 years old easy. And so I was just like, you know what? Time for a new computer bag because I ain't playing this shit. So, but luckily my iPad wasn't ruined or anything attached. Just my passport got soaked too. I was like, they soaked my motherfucking passport, so now my passport looks like a like a wavy booklet now. So like I'm like compressing it too and making sure that all the pages can go flat again after I dried it all out. I'm just like, my fucking passport, like Jesus Christ. So it's like anyway. So that's what I did. Chris, how was your week?
My week was interesting. I went to Nashville this week, last week, I guess it's last week now. Speaking of though, like you're talking about drying stuff out in hotel rooms, so I actually have a story about something like that too. So my wife and I, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. We went up to Ruby Falls and Rock City. I assume 90% of the world doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Is that like Chattanooga? Area?
Yeah, Chattanooga area. It's like Rock City's like a big outdoor area you can walk around. It's on top of like this like mountainous area. You can walk between these really big rocks and stuff. Really interesting. Anyway, we went there pretty close to closing time. And we were the only people there. It was awesome. But near the end, a very large thunderstorm decided to come rolling in. And, of course, us not planning for the day that is going to be a monsoon, had packed nothing for this adventure. So anyway, we got halfway through. There's like a little like hilltop, like mountaintop little bar area up there, like a little restaurant. So we actually got held up there by the park manager or something. They had us wait there. They wouldn't let us back on the trail until they verified that the storm was past. So we were there even later. Then the rest of it, I mean, it's all outdoors. So we had to basically run through the rest of this park in like this like flooded state. It was really interesting. Again, nobody else there. There's these walkways and stuff that have turned into waterfalls. So we're getting soaked. Then near the end, I have a pet peeve when it comes to being cold and wet. I don't mind those two things in separate necessarily, but when my socks get wet, there's a problem. I can't function.
Just throw them away. Throw them away at that point.
Yeah. If my shoes and my socks get wet, that's it. We're done. But yeah, so we got near the end. There's this at the exit. There's this like choke point that you have to go through, which is like where the ticket area is. It's about as wide as like a double lane road, maybe at the most. There is a set of stairs, and then there is the handicap access ramp. Both of which are full force whitewater waterfalls at this point. We're talking like probably about 6 inches of water going down these things. And that is the only way to get out of the park. So we did our best, but got soaked. So that was, I think, on like day number 1 of our, weekend there. So my shoes were soaked. So yeah, I think I sat there with the hairdryer for a good while trying to dry out my damn shoes. That was
the worst is with like wet shoes when you work
yes.
or when you walk rather, and you have that
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It feels like
It
you
was the
just
best.
got like massive weights on your feet at that point. And you're just like,
Yeah.
this is too much work.
Like just fill your shoe with mayonnaise and imagine that. And that's exactly what it felt like. Anyway.
That sounds great / disgusting all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Anyway. Nashville this week. When I got there, it was snowing. There was lots of snow on the ground, and like Mike said, like as the week went on, it got hotter and hotter. Like day one, I pulled up in my polo, my sweater, and my coat on, and then by like the end of it, like I'm like I should only be wearing the polo. It is that warm out here. So we've been getting lots of stormy weather too, since we live up on like a mountain. Our weather is really interesting. So like we're in the clouds. So like today when it's rainy, it looks like Silent Hill outside most of the time. It's just like thick, dense fog you can't see through. It's really cool. I mean, we both like spooky stuff, so it's pretty interesting. But like my wife drove down the mountain yesterday. She got down there. She's like, it's bright and sunny down here. You're up in the clouds, so it's neat to be able to experience weather like that, I guess. But it's still pretty warm.
Can you get any higher on, like you said, you're on a mountain? Can you get above that cloud or fog level?
Around here, I don't know if there's anything higher. We're up on one of the higher peaks. But I think if you head north, because we're like in the foothills of the beginning of the Appalachian Mountains, so I'm sure if you keep going north, you'll hit more taller mountains. But there's two ways off this mountain. There's one to the east and one to the west. The one headed west is not so bad. I'm sorry. The one headed east is not so bad. The one headed west is like intense, windy roads. It is super fun to drive on in a car that like can handle it. So like my GTI, it is a blast to drive on that road. But like we drove down on Monday to go get my rental car, and you literally cannot see more than 5 feet in front of the car. So you're driving. Oh, sharp right turn, and you're basically doing almost like a U-turn. So it's pretty intense.
I just imagine O'Doyle rules, O'Doyle rules, O'Doyle just flying out the cliff.
Yes. So anyway, we did get our second pup. We talked about that on the last episode. We did pick him up on Friday when I got back. Well, actually, my wife picked him up, and then he was in the car when I arrived. So got him. He doesn't have a name yet. We're not sure quite yet what to call him. We're gonna have to spend some more time with him and get to know him, I guess.
Banjo.
Yeah. So the girl pup. Yeah, we called her Kazooie because when she whines, she sounds like somebody lazily blowing into a kazoo, and it's hilarious. So I was gonna call her Kazoo, but then Ricky recently did the Banjo Kazooie playthrough. I was like, perfect. So it's a cute name for a dog. The boy, his original name was Bear. And I think it's dumb to name. Sorry, Michael. It's dumb to name animals after food.
Oh my god!
After another species of animal. I've never understood that. So his name was Bear. I think that's dumb. My wife loves it, but
I'll make sure Brandy doesn't listen to this podcast, because then you will be on her shit list. So she'll be like, Chris doesn't like biscuit.
See, dude, that makes even more sense. That like the dog's name is Bear. Like you could not have a better setup.
I mean, right? Get him a little backpack and like we're done. We're set.
Oh man, yeah, some yellow shorts. You're good, dude. Little shark tooth necklace.
That's it.
Banjo and Kazooie, dude. That's awesome. Yeah,
I agree. I don't know. Maybe we can swing her opinion. Anyway, my dad was talking to us about his name too, and he's like, "Yeah, you may want to rethink the whole bear thing in case you're outside looking for your dog and the neighbors hear you screaming, 'Bear, bear!'" Because we live in the mountains and all, and there are bears around here. So
just name him Fire.
Well, and if you're in the middle of nowhere, in the South, I mean, Banjo, that's like kind of fitting, because you're like backwoods almost,
Hey, I agree. I'm convinced. I think it's great, but some people don't agree with me.
And when neighbors come over and be like, yeah, that there's Banjo right there, and just get a little bit of Forrest Gump accent, to sound real Real hickish, I guess, if that's the right word.
Super. Yeah, perfect. Let's see. So yeah, we got the pup. They're both quite rambunctious, but they're good. They're good so far. I haven't decided to kick them out yet.
No, they're puppies, right? They're less than a year old, right?
She is 10 weeks old, and I think he's like 7 or 8 weeks old. So yeah, they're still puppies, but they're at that point like they're outside of the like potato phase, and now they're in that lanky dog can't figure out how to use its limbs phase. They both face plant quite often, and it is remotely hilarious. They'll like go running and just forget their front legs have to also move and just go sliding across the gravel, or like Kazooie, we have a little platform we're building a shed on, and like she knows how to run and she knows how to jump, but like the other day she just goes for it, doesn't quite jump high enough, and face plants right into the side of a 2x4. So that's like every time we take them outside now, so it's a good little comedic break after we make sure they didn't break something.
I'd be like, oh, who's a dumb dog? You're a dumb dog.
It's like conditioned to think like it has to do that every time now.
Every time it just face plants. But I mean, aside from that, it's pretty much spending my week in Nashville. The only other good news I have is that eventually I will finally have Starlink. Got the email letting us know that it is available in our area and that we signed up for the program. The way it works is you basically get put on a waiting list. They said that our area should start being serviced mid to late 2021. Hoping that sooner rather than later, because like right now, as we're recording, my internet speed was in the kilobytes per second. Quite terrible. Internet is something that I have taken for granted my whole life. This is right up there. I would imagine have no experience with having some sort of terminal illness. Just I want to connect, but I cannot. Frustrating.
Damn.
Now my question is,
what kind of go ahead.
I was trying to figure out the speeds for Starlink. Like, what are they saying, or at least quoting you at on possibly, or do you even know?
So Starlink doesn't have any speeds out there, but I did do. There's people who've already signed up for the beta program, and they're posting speeds. I think between 50 to 80 megabytes down is what they were looking at, which is really good.
Yeah.
There's this one guy on Reddit who took his Starlink system out into like the field. He went like camping or something and took it out with him. Did lots of extensive testing. He put it beside trees underneath tree cover to see if the speeds would differ, and then he took it to where he lives and like checked to see if he put it between the houses, did it have different, and like he posted his speeds and everything the whole way. I think what we're probably gonna do, I said a few episodes ago, I've got a big tall like antenna mast for like radios and stuff. I think I may put the dish up on top of that so it's got a 100% unobstructed view of the sky. See if that would help us out. So I'm pretty excited. Like that's
cool.
Really cool technology. I'm excited just to see it and see how it works, and then just to know that we get our internet from space. But the only thing I am a little worried about is, so like we've got a little solar panel light up on our gate to the property, and like I think it was yesterday, it just wasn't on because it didn't get any sunlight. I mean, like I said, when it rains here, it's like thick fog. You can't see but like 20 or 30 feet, so it's just not collecting enough sunlight. I'm worried that if it's inclement weather, that if that thing can't exactly see the sky, it may hinder its capabilities. So, don't know. We'll have to see it. I mean, anything's better than what I got right now, right?
Yeah. Maybe you can have like a internet capacitor, to where it just downloads as much internet as it can into this capacitor, so when it is cloudy, then you just pull off your internet off a capacitor, kind of like batteries.
I'll put some internet on my thumb drive for later.
Yeah,
pop it in the microwave to get it fresh again.
Yeah.
Ricky, what about you, sir? What have you been doing this week?
Yes, sir. So I got up to a couple little adventures this week. So I actually watched a couple movies. Do a little Ricky's movie review time. So I watched Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh boy,
How
that was a movie.
How was it?
Well, I'll tell you this: it was a movie that had Sonic the Hedgehog in it. Not the best movie, honestly. So Jim Carrey actually plays Robotnik in this movie, and he honestly he puts the whole movie on his back. He carries the whole movie, really. He's the best and funniest part of the whole thing. He's actually surprisingly a really good Robotnik.
Did he put on 400, 500 pounds?
Huh? Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Was he egg-shaped?
Not initially. There's a cool little, if you stay behind the credits, there's a cool little scene that you see. You're like, hey, that actually kind of looks like Robotnik now.
Oh, I must have missed that. I saw Sonic, and I loved Jim Carrey's acting in it. I mean, I thought Sonic the character was pretty funny too, but yeah, I mean, overarching story, I was just like, meh, 7 out of 10, but there's it kept you entertained.
Yeah, it honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'll say that. It's watchable. It's definitely not like Dragon Ball Evolution bad. That's for sure. I mean, for the source material of a 2D side scroller video game, I think they did all right. But I mean, it's not going to blow your socks off or anything. But it was.
Did it follow any of the normal stories from Sonic, or was Tails there? I've been really apprehensive about getting involved in it in any way because I love Sonic.
Technically, Tails is in the movie. You have to stick around for a little bit to see it, but yeah, throughout the majority of the run, no, he is not. But I mean, it's watchable. It's a movie about Sonic. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with it. It's not there's no deep existential questions that are answered or anything with this movie, but it's a fun watch. Just put on some popcorn and watch it if you're bored type of movie, I'd say. So I did actually watch another movie. My brother, we were just kind of scrolling through and came across this movie called Synchronic. I'd never heard anything about this movie before. It's kind of like a little play on words. It's sync chronic. It's actually about a pair of EMTs, like an EMT team in New Orleans, and all of a sudden they keep getting these overdoses of these people that have been just gruesome murder scenes and everything. There's one dude that got stabbed through the stomach with a sword, and then there's no trace of who actually did it.
Natural causes.
But after all these murder scenes or these OD scenes that they come across, there's always these little packets of this drug called Synchronic, which is basically what it is a legal synthetic version of DMT. And the story just kind of goes from there. Actually, without getting too into spoiler territories, a person actually goes missing after taking the drug, and then it's them trying to figure out what the hell is this drug and what happened to this person.
Freaky.
It was really, really interesting. It's very dark and brooding. There's a lot of there's fantasy and sci-fi elements in there.
Ricky.
It was really good. I went in there completely blind, and I was pleasantly surprised by this movie.
Ricky.
Huh?
Have you ever watched Max Payne, the movie?
The only one I've actually watched is Fury Road, the one with Tom Hardy.
No.
The newest one.
Max Payne.
Oh, Max Payne. No, I've not. Sorry.
So
I'm thinking of Mad Max.
You've been going through this thing where you watch movies that sound exactly like movies that are better. Go watch Max Payne. It's pretty much the exact same thing you said. They take drugs that makes them see like demons, and they're trying to get to the bottom of this conspiracy. But they see these giant winged demons that they call Valkyries, and it's super dark and cel shaded, and it's a really good movie.
Oh, is it animated?
No.
Like an animated movie?
No. I mean, there was the game Max Payne back in the day, but it's got
Yeah.
either Mark Wahlberg or the other one that looks just like him.
Yeah. Okay, so I've seen the movie around. Like I guess I've seen that it exists, but yeah, no, I've never watched it before.
Yeah.
I guess I assumed video game movie, probably not good.
It's really good. Like, even if you never play, like, they follow some of the story of the video game, but like they take it to a whole new level with the demons, and there's some really awesome cinematography in that movie of the demons. Like, there's this one where this guy's imagining one of them like pulling him out of a window, and it just goes slow motion as it rips him backwards out of the window and glass is flying. It's definitely worth a watch. You should put that on your watch list. But
Okay.
I'm interested to see if you think it's better than this movie that sounds exactly like it.
Yeah, actually, I mean, with you describing that, if you liked Max Payne, I think you would like Synchronic. The directors that I've never heard of before as well. They've actually apparently they're kind of like up and comers, and I think they're actually they're independent filmmakers as well. But yeah, the cinematography in this was really, really cool as well. Just really, I don't know, like really long, droney shots, and some of it actually reminded me of like music videos in a way. If that, I don't, it's kind of, I guess, hard to convey, but once you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I see that. But yeah, I think, yeah, you should definitely check out Synchronic. I'd be interested to see what you think about it, because there's a twist in there as well where you're like, oh, things are different. Yeah, Synchronic and Sonic. That was my movies for the week. So last week I talked about the new Halo, or the new MCC season, like testing or beta that was going to be coming out. So that actually released late last week. So I got to play some of the two new maps. They're called Waterfall and Edge. Really cool, really, really good looking maps. Edge in particular has a whole like outside area with like waterfalls and like birds flying around on this cliff. I was like, holy damn, this looks amazing. It's really cool. I don't know, new maps in Halo 3 is really, really cool. They also added in some new customization options. One of them is a brand new thing that we've never seen before, where you actually have like, you can put stuff on your back now. Like, there was like a katana that you could have in the OG Halo 3, but now they've added stuff now to where you can have like a fireman's axe, or you can have like if you guys know, like the legendary emblem with like the alien skull with like bullets in his skull and like two swords in the shield. So you can have that on your back now, and a bunch of different other options.
Is that just in that map,
that really
or
cool.
is that just in general now?
So that's like, you can customize your character with that stuff. All like handful of new armors, new helmets, and yeah, some other stuff. So that was really cool. Just, I don't know, playing Halo in new ways is really fun. They also had a new like Halo Infinite update as well, where they kind of go into more describing what the game is going to be like, and it really honestly reminds me a lot of what like Breath of the Wild. Like, this vast open area where you can like tackle different objectives with different equipment and everything. Basically, just like build your own Halo campaign is really what it's sounding like. So I'm really excited to eventually get my hands on that game. The more and more I hear about it, the more and more it looks really, really fun. They did like some screenshots of it and everything, and holy damn, that game looks good. Like, it almost, like, it really looks like conception art that you see. Like, I'm almost like there's no way that this is a video game, and an open world game at that. Like, it just looks amazing. I can't wait to play some more of that, or play any of it rather. So moving on from Halo, a little bit of adventures I got into this week. So I got myself a CRT TV to play some old school video games. You know, I've been playing like the N64 games on emulator with Jiggies of Time and whatnot here as of late, and I've got the N64 and a handful of games in the closet, and I was like, I want to play like legit old school style, and hooked up the N64 to the CRT and everything. So that's been really fun. I actually went ahead and ordered an EverDrive as well, which, you guys, if you remember, that's the cart, or essentially the flash cart that you can actually load a whole bunch of ROMs onto an SD, put that in your N64, and you basically have like all those games on that one card, and you can play like modded stuff as well. So I'm really, really excited to try out like split screen Mario 64, or like Mario and Luigi. I actually went and there's one that was really fun in particular to do modding for, Mario Kart, where you had to actually go into the game files and like replace all the different kart characters, all the voice files, even like their nameplate and like the character select. Like you had to manually go in and change all that stuff. So that was really fun to mess around with. So I've got Mario Kart with Link, Skull Kid. I've got Banjo in there, Crash, Sonic, like all a whole new like character select. So I'm really, really excited to try that on the actual N64. That's gonna be so fun.
That's awesome. There's that retro game shop near there that sells like old N64 games. I'd be down there buying all of my like classics.
Yeah, man. It's been really fun. Like I've been on a kick on YouTube as well, like watching people like do like 100% collection of all the N64 games like in the box. Like I don't know, like something about those N64 boxes is just special to me. Like they just pop,
They have
man.
that smell.
They're just so fun to look at.
They have a certain smell about them that I remember distinctly.
Yeah. Childhood. What a grand old time. So another thing, so a few months ago, I was actually helping my brother clean up his house and whatnot, just I guess straighten some things up, and we actually came across like some old, like our old like toys from our childhood. It's actually I was talking to, I think I was talking to you guys about it off podcast, where I actually got my old like super detailed like Super Saiyan Goku toy and everything, and I actually looked that up. I found it online. Apparently, it's made by a company called If Labs, and I think either they're out of business or they're not doing anything at the moment. But all those toys that they have, like for DBZ, like that, are like extremely rare. Like they're going for like $100+ right now on the internet, which is pretty cool. But in addition to that, we actually found like a whole like bin full of VHS tapes and like a whole bunch of like baby / like like childhood photos, old yearbooks and stuff. So I took all that stuff to my house, and also I actually got for the N64, I actually got an RCA splitter, so I can actually play on the CRT and also have the video and audio going to my computer as well, so I can like stream and record the gameplay and stuff. And then kind of a light bulb went off. I was like, oh damn, like that same device can actually be used on the VHS player as well. So I've actually been, for the past couple of days, taking like my old VHS tapes and then actually watching and recording them on the computer to preserve them, like burn them to DVD or like store them on files on like an external or like a flash drive. So it's been...
Isn't that what the Elgato was originally designed to do?
Yeah, it was like to record TV or, yeah, exactly. Like basically like convert like TV or VCR stuff to digital. I actually had like the original like iTV like years ago, back when I worked before I guess the Apple where we met. There was a whole nother Apple store that I worked at. But yeah, that's been really cool. I've been watching all these old like videos of me as a baby and like a little kid, and like I don't remember any of that stuff that happened. Like I was watching like Christmas from like 93, 94, and some of those toys that I was like helping my brother clean up, like they were still there like however many years later. It was kind of crazy to see like the origin story of all these toys and everything, So, and in addition to that, I'm actually going to be starting a whole new little side business. I was thinking like, there's got to be other people. I mean, even just in my like immediate area that have like closets with a whole bunch of VHS tapes, like home movies and stuff that are just rotting away. So, I sent out like a Facebook like group message to see if anybody be interested in doing that, and I got a whole bunch of replies that came back at me. So, I'm gonna actually start doing that. Basically charging people to convert all their stuff to digital, put it on DVD and whatnot for them. So that's gonna be really fun. I'm excited / terrified about it, because the one thing I'm really, really scared is gonna happen is like I'm gonna pop in this like their only memory of great grandpa Joe, like it's the only memory they have of him in the existence in the entire galaxy, and I'm gonna put it in and it just gets ripped to shreds, and it's like fuck.
Get yourself one of them legal disclaimers.
Yep. Be like, hey, this is too old. It might not work. Just saying.
Man, I'd be more worried about like when we work on customers' phones. every now and then you see some photos you don't want to
Yeah.
see. I'd be worried about that on
Whoa.
VHS.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's little Billy's Willy right there in the bathtub, you know.
Yeah, let me get this off of my computer immediately. FBI, open up.
It's not mine, I swear. That's what they all say.
So, but yeah, so that, at rolling back to the beginning of the podcast, I was talking about how we were going to talk about our first memories, like the first thing that we can remember. Cause like I was saying, like I was watching all these old tapes of me as like a little kid and baby, and like, I don't remember any of this stuff. And, I'm like a child of divorce. So there's like videos with like my mom and dad were together. Like, I don't know. It was really like my dad was like super skinny, like no gray hair whatsoever. I did the math, and I think in these videos he was like around like 26, 27. So I'm older now than he was in those videos. So it's been a trip. But yeah, I thought that'd be interesting to talk about. Do you guys, Mike? What's the first thing that you can remember, like in your entire life?
Yeah, I have a memory. Let's see.
I know what it is.
Yeah. I've actually got some memories that I do remember back really really close to that actual time frame. Was actually when we were in Florida. So for those who don't know, I was actually adopted. So was my brother. And my brother and I are both blood brothers. So we come from the same birth mother, but then we're adopted, and we stay together, which doesn't actually happen very often when it comes to adoption processes. Usually they'll split up for some stupid reason, don't ask me why. Usually we'll split up siblings. So luckily my brother and I were actually able to stay together during the adoption process. So my brother and I are blood brothers, but our parents, which to me they've always been my parents. I don't say they're my adoptive family, because I never knew my birth mother and family, and nor do I really care to. But yeah, so both my brother and I are adopted blood brothers, with the same set of adoptive families now. But no, so my earliest memories, and I didn't know what they were. I always thought the thing that was weird about this was I dreamed this quite regularly. And when I was explaining that dream, it was an actual event that I was actually dreaming about, and it's one of my earliest memories that I have, and it goes all the way back to Florida, back in 90, probably around like 93, 94 time frame. So I was around 2 or 3. I was born in 92, so I was. Well, it probably been around like 95 on it. So I would have been about like 3 or 4 at this time frame for this memory. But no, I remember my foster mother. So like an adoption agency is like, or adoption usually, it's kind of like the same thing with a dog. You get taken away from the birth mother or family, and then you get placed into foster care. And so there's a foster family that's taking care of you. And then you get, of course, put in the adoption cycle, and, you get adopted. Hopefully, some people don't. But anyway, so I was with my foster mother, and I remember, and this is what's so crazy about this memory, is when I was explaining it to my mother, because my mother knew who the foster family was. It was an older lady, probably around in like her 60s, 70s, very, that white hair. That old person's like where it's like that crisp white hair. So like that was her hair. Yeah, but it was like that nice crisp white hair. So it was like where you still had that hair, but it had just turned all white. So it had like that sheen to it before it became an 80, 90-year-old person's, hair, So
platinum hair.
Yeah, it was really nice. And she had, I believe, 2 daughters that were in the house, and they were complete assholes. I mean, well, all 3 of them were. But So anyway, so like she lived in this house that had like a kind of like similar to the house that we're in right now. It had like a little drainage ditch in the front yard. And then it has like a semi-long driveway, ranch style house with a chain link fence. And in Florida, you have like the pine trees, in the back. So like behind her fence, or chain link fence were a row of like pine trees thick, so it was almost like a forest, but it was like a subdivision as well, so it was like all cleared out around the houses in the subdivision, but just like a straight wall of trees behind them, just all exactly the same, and you can't really see through them. But anyway, so what I remember was, and this is kind of a mixture of a few, together in one, like different events that were into one memory, but she told me that I remember asking the daughters what that noise was in the backyard, and the locusts in Florida, make that annoying locust noise that they do all day. Well, they said that they were snakes hissing, and I wasn't allowed to go towards a tree line.
Sounds like The Village.
Yep. So I remember for the longest time I was terrified of snakes, and because of that hissing sound, because I associated the locusts, or cicadas noise with. Now when you're 3, you don't know any better, so I'm sure there's some people like, man, that fucking dumbass, how do you confuse a cicada noise with a snake hissing, but that's what I was told. I was 2 years old. Yeah, I was a baby. No, go fuck yourself. But so I remember that, right? And it was fucking, so I never wanted to go there. And then twice she put me, well, multiple times she put me in a corner. It seemed like a corner was a very good punishment, which I am all for. I'm all for, if you need a timeout, go stick your nose in a corner, but there was a spider that was on the top of the corner working its way down the wall. And I was screaming, not because I was put in a corner, but because there was a spider. And the spider was getting closer and closer and closer. Well, she didn't give two shits that I was screaming about a spider. She just shoved my nose closer and closer into the corner where the spider was coming down to.
Damn.
So,
how do you feel about spiders today, Mike?
I don't like spiders, and if I see them, my wife will be like, no, save them, put them in a glass, trap them with a glass and a piece of paper. I'm like, shoo, pow, just...
Mike whips out the shotgun.
Yeah, pretty much, I just pull out the pistol and start shooting, just like, bah, 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 whether it hits me or not, I don't care as long as the spider's dead, so... And then, like, the other reason why I was afraid of spiders is, and I remember this one too, and it was in the same house. They had kind of like a canopy car cover on the back porch. So it wasn't like it was, it was like a concrete pad in the back, but then they put like one of those metal canopy covers over it, and they had the riding lawnmower underneath it. Well, I don't know if you remember, like, it was the transparent blue tarps. So it was almost like the thickness of like a clear shower cover, but it was like that transparent blue. If you guys remember that, way back when they were extremely popular for like car covers. Now it's all like solid colors. You get your grays, your browns, your greens, camos, pinks, whatever you want, right? But they wrapped the lawnmower in that, and they had us like pulling the tarp off, and as like there's waves in that tunnel, or in that cover, in that sheet, because it's not like super flat all over it. They just threw it over it, so there's bends in it, but you can see through it, right? So there was another spider that was about the size of a quarter that had an egg sac on the back of it, so it was like white.
Ooh.
Crawling on the inside, on the other side of that tarp, and I was screaming, and they were making me like still grab the tarp because they didn't know what I was screaming at. And I was petrified because there was a spider again on the other side of where they wanted me to grab, and they were being assholes and teasing and taunting me. The two younger daughters would like taunt us and tease us and shit like that. And so I mean, that's like the earliest memories. I've got some other memories of us like launching rockets with my dad. Well, my dad now, we would go out there, and there was like an old launch pad down there, so we would launch like those rockets that have like little rocket engines in them, like your C or D size engines, and you launch them and you launch them up, and they have little parachutes. So I've got like memories of that, and that was like me being 4 years old, just a little bit of a toddler as my dad's playing with rocket engines and shit like that, and all in that same time frame. But that's Florida, which I only spent like probably like 2 years in Florida, when I was a child. So we're like a young child. So, a lot of my other memories come from California, Virginia, and the rest of my life. But my earliest memories from Florida, I'm surprised I really even have, because I know a lot of people that cannot remember when they were like 2-3 years old. But I don't have a lot of memories, but those are the ones that have stuck with me throughout the years. And if I think about them and talk about them, I remember other memories from that time frame. But those are like usually the starter memories where I'm like I remember them because I also dream about them too.
Yeah, sounds like, I mean, the memories that you do have from way back then are ones that left a very, I guess, like deep impression.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like another one which left a deep impression. For some reason, I got left alone on a basketball court on a school. I was getting tutored because I couldn't say my R's right, so my mom would have me, my adoptive mom, which is, I say mom, but I know I want to make sure that other people who don't know, can differentiate. But like my mother, which to me is my mom, but not my birth mother. But anyway, I couldn't say my R's and I couldn't say S's, so like specific. I would always I couldn't say that. I couldn't mix an S and a P together. Which I still have to think about it every once in a while. But, so I had to go, like, see a tutor and stuff like that. But I remember I was in a gymnasium, like, say, like a high school gymnasium, and the lights went out. And I remember just standing there in the complete dark, like, didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then the tutor opened the door, and she was probably like 20 feet away from me and saw me and like called me, and I like went towards the door, or she turned on the lights or something like that. And I remember that one, which was really weird. So probably because I didn't want to be in a gymnasium with all the lights off. But anyway,
it's a good time.
Yeah, good time. Most of my early memories are, torture, but, fuck spiders. So, and fuck dark places. Maybe that's why I don't like going out to put my trash out at night and being in a dark area where I can't see behind me, because of the moment when I was a kid. I didn't even have to pay a psychologist or a therapist. I figured it out. I'm terrified of the dark because of that fucking gymnasium incident when I was 2 years old.
Welcome to the Pixelated Therapy Podcast.
I saved myself $200. So, Chris, what's your earliest memories?
Man, I don't know. Like, I think memories are kind of weird because, like you said, Mike, like, I don't know, is this a dream or was this something that actually happened? I did a while back get into a discussion with my mom about it and verified a couple things that were real, and like a couple things that like my brain had augmented. So I think the earliest memory I have was when we lived in Guam, and I was, between 2 and 6, so it was only a very few amount of years there. But we lived on Guam. Those of you who don't know, Guam is a little bitty island between the United States and Japan. It's like 2 miles big, and that's it. I remember being there at some sort of festival, and we were on the beach, and I was with my mom, and people were shooting off fireworks, like Roman candles. They were like putting them in the sand and shooting them towards the water. I distinctly remember that, and I did ask, and that one was real. So I must have been like 3 or 4 at the time. I also remember walking between some buildings, and there was like a canal going through, and there was a dragon in the water. Obviously, that part didn't happen.
I don't know. I mean,
but I remember it as a
dragons don't go in those types of areas.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's like, I don't know about Japan. I mean, there's some weird shit in Japan where they're like, or in China, and where there's still like the Komodo dragons, and they still have sightings of like large winged like bat looking things that like are bigger than normal bats. Like you're talking like a wingspan of like 3-4 feet. But
Yeah, I don't know. Like I distinctly remember that even to this day. Like we were walking and there was like a canal. We were above the canal and there was just it looked like a really big snake. Like how they swim in water, how like they go back and forth, but it was like lighting up and growling. Like I distinctly remember that. So I don't know if that was somewhere where maybe they had like an animatronic or something, but I don't know. It was definitely weird. I think she said that we were at one of the large hotels or resorts on the island. So I mean, maybe I don't know. I think that's probably the oldest memory I have. I have a couple other ones. We did have, and for some stupid reason, I don't understand this with my parent like logic brain today. But for some stupid reason, living on an island that had beaches everywhere, we had a sandbox in the front yard. Go figure.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the sandbox one day and playing, and like when the clouds are moving quickly over in front of the sun, how like it's like bright 1 second and then it's like dark 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad was sitting out there with me, and I asked my dad why does the sun keep going away, and he was explaining like how the clouds move. I remember that pretty well, and that would have been also on Guam.
So, just to interrupt you real quick, Chris, that whole entire description you just gave, I always thought as a kid that the sun was breathing.
Checks out.
That when it was super bright, it was inhaling. And it would get really bright, and then the clouds would move over it, and now I didn't, like how you explained it, and then that would be the sun exhaling.
I guess physics-wise, that would make more sense. The more oxygen, the brighter it would burn, so...
Yeah. And that's what I thought. So when you described that, I was like, is he going to say what I thought as a kid, like the sun was breathing? But then you're like, no. But yeah, no, that's what I thought as a kid, was the sun was breathing. I was convinced 100% the sun was breathing.
Let's see. A little bit later than that. So once we moved back to the States, so yeah, I was probably around 6 or 7. We lived in Oklahoma for a while. At least we were there visiting for a while with my grandparents. I remember a bunch of things from there. Distinctly, I remember, so my grandfather, he built me a life-size Thomas the Tank Engine, like play area in the back. And he built like a walk-in dollhouse for my sister with working electricity and microphones, like where she could press the button and talk to the people in the house. It was insane. Like he did some crazy stuff for us. But I remember playing in those, and then I remember one of the neighbors of my grandparents had a hot tub. We all went to like this local place called Wooler Rock, which is like a natural park for Native Americans. And we got temporary tattoos. I got a Superman logo on my face.
On your
and
face.
Then we got then we got into their hot tub and spent the night there, and my Superman tattoo wore off.
Sad day.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe that's why I'm so screwed up. I'm trying to find some like epiphany like Mike had to where I can explain things in my life, but I don't know. Can't think of any.
Remember.
How do you feel about trains now?
How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about trains now?
They are an efficient mode of transportation. They are the backbone in a lot of underdeveloped countries, including Africa, where they deliver resources into the mainland from the sea. So, love trains.
See, you love trains, and you love that Thomas the Tank Engine playhouse you got. See, there's a correlation. There's your therapy session for today.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, I've got other stuff too. Like, I just remember like some of our like first churches we went to when we moved to Alabama, and a couple other things. But like those are like when I was like 7 and 8. I don't think those really count, but yeah. I have one other memory, which is spooky.
Ooh.
So yeah, I was saving this one to the end just to re-grab your interest. So I remember I was sleeping in a bed with rails on the side, so I'm assuming it was a crib or something. And I had, at least I thought I had, a toy ghost that hung on the wall. Just think of stereotypical clip art ghost, and it was like maybe like 2 foot by 3 foot. It was just on the wall beside my crib. I remember when my parents pressed it, it would light up and make spooky ghost noises. Turns out that was never a thing, but I did tell my mom about it when I was a kid, about the spooky ghost in my room that lit up, and she was quite alarmed by that. So that is a memory that I have of a spooky ghost in my room that didn't actually exist. So kids can see the paranormal.
Interesting. I mean, I had a similar, I always believed, so like we had bunk beds, my brother and I growing up, and this was a little bit probably like when we were like 6 or so, like that. There's like a little bit of a crack between the bunk beds and the wall, just enough to get your hand through it. And one time my brother would reach his hand up and pull my sheets out off my bed and through that crack and whatnot. And because he did that, and it surprised me, I always believed that there was a witch underneath my bed. Because I had a nightmare, like either that night or later, and of a hand, like an evil witch hand, like almost like kind of like a zombie hand, like long nails, like all that fun stuff. And I remember, like in my head, it was like extremely vivid that it, like that crack between the, you know, sideboard of the bed and the wall would glow, and the hand would come up. Ooh. And then it would try to grab me, and it'd sit there and be like, you know, like doing like almost like the, you know, the thing or whatever it is from like the Addams Family, the hand, you know.
Oh,
and it would be like that, trying to put, like, yeah, trying to, you know, grab me or my sheets, and it would throw me into a panic. And I'd almost like go off the other side of the mat or of the bed because I had to get away from the crack. I didn't sleep near the crack of a bed for like the longest time because I was convinced because of that one time that there was a witch.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yep, and yep. So you know, but no, that's definitely not real. But I mean, I saw I would wake up, and like that's what I would see. Like vivid, like I was a very lucid dreamer as a kid, like seeing curtains, they'd turn into snakes as a kid. So all the curtains on my walls like turned into snakes, like hanging there and hissing at me and shit like that. And I'd be awake, and I remember being awake sitting straight up in my bed, and I'd be lucid dreaming and seeing shit. Yeah,
I think you might have been drugged.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
who knows?
I used to do the same thing. Yeah, like you're speaking of hands and beds. I know this is kind of off topic, but like, we built like a false wall out, and my bed was inside the wall. Let's see, I was probably about 11 or 12 there, and I was laying in bed. I swear to God, I was laying in bed, fully awake, and I saw a hand reach around the corner, which is like where the door was, around because I just had like an opening on the fake wall where my bed was, and the hand was just like ferociously like searching, like waving its arm around, like as if you couldn't see where you were reaching, you were just reaching around like crazy. It was like doing that towards me, and I remember being awake and seeing that. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever had anything like vivid like that before, but I have had a weird, like very, very vivid, like deja vu. Like I would basically have like a dream of something. There's two instances I can remember for sure. Like one of them was actually the base. I'm sure you guys have been there. The pool that's out there on Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I didn't know, I'd never been to this pool at the time, but I remember having like a dream of running around that pool, and then my friend, like I was chasing my friend, and he actually falls over into the pool, like in the deep end. But like I said, I'd never been to this pool before. I didn't really recognize anybody, but then it was like a year or so later, like that exact thing happened. Like I was in the middle of chasing him. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, this has happened." And sure enough, he falls into the deep end and everything. That was wild to me. But there was another one I had that was, I remember seeing almost like an A-frame or like a barn house style, like attic looking place. Like basically the walls would go straight up. Then there was like an angle, like a 45-degree angle, and then it was like flat on top. Like that's what the room looked like. and then I remember seeing some metal knobs like kicking out with like gears and everything, and there was like a bright light coming from behind it. And then this was like 5 or 6 years later. For some reason, that memory stood out in my head, or that dream stood out in my head. And then I was actually over at an ex-girlfriend of mine's house, and we were all watching a movie. I think it was actually it wasn't The Room. It was like 13 Ghosts or something like that. I don't know, some like scary movie. And sure enough, we were in a room that had those exact angles. And there was a part where like this machine was coming on. It was like releasing like Ghost or something like that. Maybe it was 13 Ghost. It had the guy that was in Monk. I don't remember the dude's name, but the guy that plays Monk was in this movie. And that exact same thing happened. And I don't know, that's still like 10 plus years later, like still blows my mind. Like I've never had anything like that happen before, like since then, but I don't know. That was really, really wild to me. I don't know if you guys have had any like crazy deja vu stuff like that before, but that was really weird.
I've had a couple like that. I know we're getting way off topic, but yeah, there's a saying, I don't remember who said it, but that time is really just an illusion. Everything's already happened. It's just the way that your brain breaks it down. Like when I hear stuff like that, it makes me believe that even more and more. Like that memory already happened. You're just experiencing it in the time that your brain makes it make sense, I guess. Mm-hmm. Insane. Yeah.
You should watch Synchronic.
Okay.
So was that all your memories, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. That's all I can remember.
All my memories I can remember. Yeah. Okay, cool. So for mine, I've got a couple. So I should actually preface this. Thank Amanda for this topic, because I was struggling to come up with anything for the topic for this podcast, and I was, we were watching the VHS tapes and whatever, and I was telling her that I couldn't really think of anything, and she kind of connected the dots for, like our first memories and everything. So thank you for this week's topic. So, but I also have a spider memory. I very vividly remember one time I had fallen asleep on our couch, and I remember like feeling something like on my hand, and like that kind of like tickling feeling, like where you just like the hairs are being like moved on your arm or whatever. And I wake up, and there is a spider like looking right in my face, like maybe an inch away from my face. And I remember I could see like the hairs on his legs, and it was like a yellow looking spider. I could see like those beady looking eyes looking right back at me, and I remember just freaking the hell out and flinging that thing across the room.
Fuck that, dude. Fuck it.
Woo! Yeah, that was amazing. I love that one.
You know what? Like the other thing that you made me think about it, but like like the statistics where they say how many bugs somebody eats a night, or how many like spiders crawl up people's nose, or like they swallow in the middle of their sleep. It just made me think about that. You might have almost had that spider crawl into your mouth and then die, like as you like swallowed it, like
what is it about spiders in our orifices? I don't understand.
Like fuck that. Like
I can just see Mike saying, "Yeah, I sleep with like a sealed helmet on every night."
Yeah. It's like there is no way nothing's ever getting in except for straight pure oxygen. Just sleep with a gas mask on with a completely sealed respirator filler, air
just
feed,
sleep in a sarcophagus.
Yeah. Not today, spiders. Not today.
How old were you there, Ricky? Do you think?
I don't know. I would have to guess maybe 3 to 4 years old, and that's really around the same time. Like I guess really all my earliest memories. I'd say I would imagine I was around like 3 to 4 years old, because the majority I can for sure, like my very first memory that I like can definitely recall was I was actually in K4, or I guess preschool as it's known otherwise. So I had to have been 3 or 4 years old, depending on what part of the year this was in. But I just remember for whatever reason, like our teacher had to like go outside of the class for like an extended period of time, so it was just us kids in the room. And then I remember like I was just saying over and over like, "Oh, we're dead meat. We're DEDMEET. We're dead meat." Like we were gonna die because the teacher left the room. I don't know. She probably just went to the bathroom or something. I don't know, but
Like to go smoke or something.
yeah. God, these fucking kids, dude.
Can't take this anymore.
But yeah, we were DEDMEET, dead meat. So actually, another memory I have is actually in the same classroom, like the same time frame. I remember this girl. I like she was sitting next to me, and I just remember her just like viciously like rocking back and forth. Like, what is this girl doing? And then all of a sudden, just boom! Just an explosion of piss comes out from underneath this girl. Like, I seem to remember like her actually like levitating for a second off of her chair. And they had to like come in and like, you know, clean up the carpet and like her seat and everything. Like, I don't know. I found it hilarious and disgusting at the same time.
You want to hear a childhood pee story of mine?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is back. This isn't like an early memory. This is like when you were in Virginia. So you're talking about like 1999 to like 2003 time frame. We lived in Blacksburg, Virginia. So the school, they did a field trip out to Williamsburg and Jamestown and Yorktown as a school field trip, all the way on the, you know, far eastern side of Virginia. And so my mom's a chaperone, a big giant school field trip, and it was the night that we were heading back. We had to go back to Blacksburg, right? So my mom was doing her last minute gift shopping, getting like, you know, us like little trinkets and shit like that, and being a chaperone and stuff like that. And I'm doing a pee dance. I'm like, Mom, I have to use the bathroom. I have to use the bathroom. I have to use the bathroom. Well, I believe like not like 5 minutes earlier, my mom was just like, do you need to use the bathroom? We're right here. And I'm like, no, which I actually didn't need to use the bathroom. And,
Sure.
yep. And,
I always say that.
we get in there and I mean, sure shit enough, you know, like you go shopping and all of a sudden, like you're taking your time shopping, then you have to pee and they're just like, oh my goodness, like now I have to pee out of nowhere, you know? But anyway, that's what happened. All of a sudden I had to pee and I had to pee. Like it was like pinching my, you know, my dick, you know, like, like having to pee. Like I was like, I like, it was like, I had to like almost like tie it off type of thing. Like, or I was just gonna piss everywhere and I'm just like dancing, like just grabbing myself, like, because like I have to pee. Like I'm literally like there's no way stopping it. And eventually like it just took too long and I couldn't do that anymore. And I pissed myself. Just absolutely pissed myself. I was wearing my dark blue bell-bottom jeans that I had on, and yeah, I like just fucking pissed myself in that store, and pee rolling down my leg, got a puddle underneath my feet, you know, and we had no change of clothes on us. Everything was already back in the tour bus. And so I had to go, like, she finally, like, walked me over to the bathrooms, and I tried to, like, wash my pants off and shit like that in my underwear and everything like that. And I'm, like, 10, 11 years old at that time frame when this happened. And,
best time for that to happen, yeah.
Yep. And so, yeah, and then we had, like,
literally a bus full of your friends outside.
Yep.
Perfect.
4 or 5 hours driving home later, I had to have a blanket
Yikes.
or a blanket like over me because I smelled like fucking piss. And like each time I like would move the blanket, like it just like reeked like like a fart, you know, like when you fart underneath the sheets, you know, and you like pull the sheets back and you're like close the sheets back up, you know, like that's what it smelled like. And that was horrific. I fucking pissed myself in Williamsburg, Virginia, and then had a fucking bus ride home. I had so much toilet paper like in my underwear, trying to like soak up all the shit into my underwear and stuff like that. Like almost like wearing it to pens full of toilet paper. Yeah, It was fucking rough. Yeah.
Hell yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It just made me think about that. And you're just like, and she was shaking back and forth and just an explosion. Yeah, I was like jumping up and down, just like, I gotta go. Oh, and next thing you know, just everywhere. Just like, just gone.
Boom!
Yeah.
Explosion
If it
of
helps
piss.
at all, I'm certain my wife is at that same I don't have to and then I really have to on all car trips ever. So
Yep. Now I've got it under control. Now I can go I can go on a road trip for 16 hours. Now I have to pee. But the minute I get out of that car, it's just like, and 100%, 150%, I have to go now.
Not
Right.
again.
Yeah.
I thought for sure you're gonna say I can go on a car trip for like 16 minutes. I'll be good.
Yeah.
That's me, man. I swear I have the most overactive bladder. Like I swear I pee like 3 to 4 times more than anybody else around me.
Well,
Even right now, I gotta go.
with road trips, I'm all about okay, I want the minute I get in that car, I want to be from point A to point B like that. Not speeding, but I don't want to stop. And if I stop, I make it as short as possible. Now, my wife and I, when we drive, I use the bathroom before I go. She'll use the bathroom before she goes. But 15, 20 minutes into the car trip, can we go to Starbucks?
Uh-oh.
So
those Love's gas station stops last a little bit longer than they used to.
Yep. And so she'll get coffee now. And she gets coffee, and then not an hour. So, fit 30 minutes into the drive, we already have to stop. All right, get the coffee. Then an hour and a half maybe after that coffee, we have to stop again for pee. And because that coffee went straight through her. And then we'll drive another couple hours. And I'm hungry. Now we got to stop for food. So we'll go to Chick-fil-A or some sort of fast food. And then we'll sit forever in the fast food line.
Those are the staple stops though. I feel like every time I go on a road trip, that's where we go to. Starbucks and Chick-fil-A. It's always those.
And so instead of an 8-hour drive, it turns into a 12-hour drive because we stop every hour and a half because bathroom or coffee, bathroom, food. Then you drink all the sweet tea from Chick-fil-A, and then we have to use the bathroom an hour and a half after that when that whole entire gallon of sweet teas worked its way through us. And then we're hungry again an hour and a half later, and then we had to get gas, and then and I'm like, oh my god,
just need to bring some funnels and Gatorade bottles. And be good to go.
Yeah. I'm like, there's a bush right over there. And I'm like, I'm not a guy. I can't just go in a bush. And I'm like, sounds
Here's
like
a
a personal
funnel
problem.
and a gallon bucket. Make it happen.
Go.
Anyway, sorry, Ricky.
Yeah, so I have a few more. So again, the same time, and this was 93, 94 again. So I remember one morning, it might have even been the first day of school, and I remember getting dropped off at preschool or K4 or whatever. And they actually had this, those metal awnings with the poles that are kind of hollow. If you kind of touch it and it the whole thing rattles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did that. I got dropped off and I was waving goodbye to my mom, walking forward while looking backwards and waving at her. And then as soon as I turned back around to walk, the pole is right there in my face, and I just blah! I mean. Full speed ahead, headbutt this thing, and the whole thing. So of course everybody then looks around to see me, crying because I just busted my forehead wide open on this whole pole and awning. So that was traumatic and a great memory to have.
I don't know what it is. Maybe I just have known you for long enough. I can't imagine you acting any different as a child as you do as an adult. I just imagine you hitting that, oh fuck, as a little kid.
Actually, now that you say that does sound familiar.
I can't picture you being G-rated as a little kid. I just imagine you have the exact same personality you have now.
Oh fuck. You imagine the look of terror on all the adults' faces.
A 4-year-old just bursts out. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a topic for another time. Our first time cussing in the next episode of the Pixelated Porch Podcast.
I'm going to have to ask my mom on that one.
Man, I still feel weird cussing around my mom. I don't know. It's weird. okay, so I got two more. So when I was young, I used to stay at my aunt's house, or aunt, however you want to say it, auntie. I used to stay at my aunt's house all the time when I was younger. And I remember like we used to have like these little like sticker books. I remember having one for like the Lion King or like Zoo Animals or something or another. But it was like a coloring book meets sticker book kind of combination. I remember for whatever reason I was super into those as a kid. And I remember it was like when Jurassic Park like came to VHS. I remember like a whole bunch of like family members were around watching it, and I was in the floor doing this sticker book, and I remember vividly like looking up and seeing that scene where they were like lowering the cow down into like the raptor pen, and you can hear them just like ripping this thing apart. And I remember my mom like jumping up and like covering my eyes because she didn't want to see this cow get completely destroyed. So that was a good time. She did that a lot. Like she definitely used her hand to censor a lot of things. I remember she did that to like in Titanic, when it was, that scene when he's drawing her. That was cool. I remember that. And then I remember just my last one is I remember like actually leaving my aunt's house. I don't know if this is like the same time or like a different time, but I was like leaving, and I remember I was like crying so hard that I puked. Like I don't know, it's like, most puke is like, it's like liquid, like it just kind of just comes out, but this one was like solid. Like it was almost like a solid liquid, so it kind of like filled up my mouth, and I had to like spit it out almost.
Gross.
So that was it's like a reverse mama bird situation, so that was that was fun. But yeah, I mean, those are all my earliest memories that I can recall. Pretty fun stuff.
Memories are weird, man.
Yes, they are. I was actually looking up like when, I guess like the earliest that people typically do remember things, and it looks like it's around like 2 to 3 years old is like the earliest that that people have been able to recall, and some people like it's even as late as like 6 years old, which seems like
really
very late to me. I definitely remember like first grade, like a lot of stuff from, because I was 6 in first grade, and I remember that very, very vividly. So I mean, I guess around like late 3 years old and onward, that's when I started to remember things. So I don't know. Yeah. Kind of interesting, I suppose. What were your first memories, listeners? Let us know wherever. So, but yeah, I think we're just about out of time for this episode. So let's, I guess, oh damn, I completely forgot about recommendations.
Recommend remembering things.
I recommend remembering things. I do actually recommend, if you do have old VHS tapes, they do not last forever. The magnetism in those tapes will actually start to, if not already, will start to decay, and those things will actually be no longer viewable. So if you want to save those memories and remember stuff that you didn't remember previously, definitely recommend getting those backed up to digital. It's kind of cool actually watching all that stuff too. Kind of win-win. So, but yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode. All right, roll that intro, or that roll the outro. This has been the Pixelated Porch Podcast. We are the Friendly Nerds, Ricky, Chris, and Mike. If you'd like to follow us on social media, check us out on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search Pixelated Porch, and also be sure to check out our Discord.
All right, let's see. It was dark, it was warm and wet, and it was a sudden burst of light and intense pressure.
No. Stop.
So, for anybody who didn't know, that was a little skit from Dwight from The Office. I didn't get to finish it. Thanks, Chris. Just ruined it.